Ready to move to the next level in your product career? I'm Shobit from Intentional Product Manager. Join me as we discuss ways to help you stand out in your job search and your career so you can have more impact and make more money. Welcome to the Intentional Product Manager podcast. With me today is Mahesh Yadav, who's a product manager at Google. He's been a developer with 17 years of experience, and he's a specialist in Gen AI and currently building an AI agent for support, sales, and marketing at Google Cloud. And Mahesh also has a course on Maven on agentic AI. So Mahesh, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you, Shobit. I looked at a lot of courses out there because I just talk about AI and how to build AI projects or how to become an AI PM. But I was checking like what PM needs to do or what PM needs to learn to get into. And that's how I came to know you. Great work and so happy to be here.
Tell us a bit about yourself so that our audience can get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, so I think a couple of cool things about me. I think I've worked at pretty much every Mac company at this point except Apple or Netflix. So that's an easy one to say. There are more to say, not less to avoid. So yeah, that's another one. Another thing is that another fun fact is I worked on as a developer. I also worked at Microsoft. We used to call ourselves as program managers. So I had that title as well. And then I worked as a product. So I have touched pretty much all these three. And rest is we live in Bay Area. I have two kids, 4 and 8. Those are the things. Work-wise, I'm very lucky that I get to work on the latest, greatest thing. So we build and shipped agents which can automate support. And I'm working on other things here at a scale of Google. And before that, I also built Bedrock for agents for Bedrock. And before that, I worked on PyTorch to see how can you train these trillion parameter scale models and take PyTorch from single machine to a distributed cluster. That was used by likes of OpenAI to build their first GPT-3. We build OPT on top of it. So a lot of stories all along. I hope they come out today.
It seems like you like to lead a busy life with work and kids, and then you're teaching on Maven. Seems like you like to keep yourself busy.
I think I follow my passion, and when you do that, it's like you'll stay busy, but you're doing one thing only. I mean, you see the loop, right? So I teach. To teach, I need to prepare. And if I prepare well, then I'm really good at my job. Then I gain experiences, and those experiences I continue to teach. So there is a correlation here. That means I need not to spend all my time. If I would have gone and become a realtor, I think I would have to get to this level or to be useful to society. I would need to put in much more. But because I have this loop, I get to do that. Some compromises though. I don't think I spend as much time I should with my kids especially on weekends. So that's the compromise.
Yeah, absolutely. We make some trade-offs as we need to. AI, Gen AI, now agentic AI is pretty much in demand. It's the technology of the times. Tell us about your journey. How did you get in the space?
First was very desperate attempt to get into AI. Rest were more organic. So I was at Microsoft for a long time. Like I joined in 2011, I believe. And then I was working, before that I just did LTE, by the way. I had no clue about anything else. I was a wireless guy, born in wireless, read 3GPP specs, built base stations and simulators. And I thought I will just die here. My goal was to become this 3GPP expert. And then I got bored. I did that for 4 years in Microsoft. And I was like, Microsoft, I'm doing like this hardware wireless thing. Microsoft is known for operating system. So I wanted to get out of that and get into Windows. And while I was trying that, Microsoft also figured out that they have spent too much time in Windows. They wanted to get into Azure. So I went into Azure IoT. And from there, it was very, I think, accidental, I would say. IoT was a lot of edge data. And then we needed to do something with that data. And in 2016, I started picking up machine learning. At that time, we were just doing vision-specific things. And from there, the journey just never stopped. So then I went into Azure Machine Learning. Then I went into building this Vision AI dev kit, which was a camera which can do training in cloud, but inference on edge. So you can take your pictures, but process them here. And you can deploy small models here and take pictures and send them to cloud for retraining and then deploy. So that was my first thing I built. And that just was everywhere at Microsoft. And from there, I was known. And then I think Facebook happened. Then I was like, okay, I'm the inference guy, but then I wanted to do training. So I went to Facebook, and there I was working at AI infra team and PyTorch. And once you have that in your CV, right, once you have done like infra scale trainings and recommendation systems, it's just hard to get out. And then I think before Gen AI actually happened, I get to work at AWS. I was working in Comprehend team, which is text analytics or text AI. And that became Bedrock, which is we took all these large language models and tried to commercialize them and made them available for all our customers. And there I also worked in billing for some time, where I took all the back office contract to cash process and automated with that with AI. And once I touched that, I was like, the real potential is not in infra, not in tooling, but actually building agents. And then Google came along and they said, actually, we can give you agents. And last year, nobody was like actually building production scale agents. And I was like, okay, really? Can I actually build and ship agents now? And that's what I get to do. So that was very intentional, I would say, where I forced myself. Rest just happened, right? You're just seeing the trajectory of somebody just seeing and being pulled into the next thing.
It seems one is you sort of, even if you didn't like intentionally make this move of, hey, I got to go do this, but you kept an eye on what will enable me to get to the next level in terms of what's leading edge. And then you followed that and then you were like, cool, then I should go do, like, for example, build agents.
Yeah. So I think what happens in this field, although it doesn't look from outside, this is what's happening, is that, as I said earlier, that, in the beginning, you look out, you need to train yourself. Once you cross that threshold, people are seeking you. All the people say that, there is a lot of less jobs, there are a lot of challenges, and they say a lot of people have learned AI. But if I talk to the other side, which is people trying to hire for AI, they have a really hard time actually looking for talent. So once you cross that threshold, for me, people were looking for me then. Like PyTorch was looking for me. It was just like that team saying, hey, somebody can help me because I don't have anybody to take on PyTorch. So it was more voluntarily people seeking out. Same is AWS and same is Google. So if you look at that trajectory, it's mostly if you elevate yourself above a level. So you're absolutely right. That's me seeking. But after that, I'm being asked to do things which are cool, but I need not to even go and apply for these jobs, to be honest.
Let's begin with like a base level question, because I know there's people who want to ask this question and they're afraid to. What are agents?
Yeah, I think what we have done with AI is like we were first trying to say, okay, can it actually do some of the jobs, simple jobs like predictive AI? Like, can it tell me the sentiment? Can it give me the entities in a text? Can, if I give it a picture, it can tell me what's in the picture? And then we were trying to build apps on top of it. And then ChatGPT happened and it said, okay, you know what? I can actually give you a chat experience, which is human-like. You can ask me questions rather than doing search, and I will answer them, which was in itself like first novel thing happened to humanity, that I can ask a machine a question and it kind of responds as if human is on the other side. So it passed the Turing test out of box and then became interesting too. And then, okay, now I can ask Q&A questions. But then the last part is, actually, I have jobs to be done. So can I connect thinking intelligent Q&A with tools, and it can use that tools to do some jobs for me, like booking my tickets, answering or checking my customers' records, finding what signals they have in my cloud, and then actually write code to reproduce their problem first, and then see is it their problem or our cloud problem, and then recommend them a solution, which is they can go a copy, paste, and try. So now I'm getting jobs done. So an agent is now, you can think of AI plus tools and some orchestration layer, which allows you to plan and act. If you take these three things together, which is intelligence, a planning component, and then a way to change the world, which is your tools. So if you put these three things, you have an AI agent which can think, try, assess if I changed enough in the world to the state that I want to, and keep doing it unless it has done the job. is an agent.
It's actually doing the work rather than just telling you what to do. That's awesome. Now let's talk about another very interesting thing that you mentioned, where you spoke to me about when you look at the market, on one side, there's people who are trying to get into AI. And then on the other hand, there's hiring managers now who are actually having a really hard time hiring like the right kind of people. What's the delta? And other than happening to get into roles that expand into AI, how do people cross that gap?
It's a very good question. So 2 parts to it. What's happening, and then how can you prepare to be part of this, whatever happening. So what's happening is, if you go to anybody, like if you're trying to start a company, or if you have started a company or you're getting hired, the hiring manager actually has seen the real challenges of building AI projects. And they know the reality, the hype, or I would say the possibilities that are shown to you outside, and the possibilities to actually ship production scale AI. There is a huge delta there. And when you come or talk to me, or if I'm interviewing somebody, I want them to know that delta, because I know that. So I want you to be smart enough to know that. And even educate me on some of that, because if you can do that, that's my leverage. That's the only leverage left for me in AI, that if people have iterated, they can save us time. And time is the largest leverage when you have a disruption and when you're trying to compete, or when you're trying to win on a new space where there is a lot of possibilities. So if that's true, then what I'm looking for, or what a hiring manager looks for, is first, have you actually done some projects? Do you know the limitation of this? And how you have overcome those limitations to actually produce something that customer can get value out of. These 3 things are missing generally for people who are new, have done courses or have read a lot. But when I talk to you, it doesn't come across that you would have seen the limitations and you have found a way to ship products in spite of those limitations. That, I think, is the core skill or core thing that is needed. To double click on this, okay, now this is a chicken and egg problem. Okay, how will you solve that? So I would say, first, make sure you understand the concepts. There are deeper concepts than upper layer concepts. So make sure you understand that. Second is, understand your ecosystem. There's just so many players and they approach at a different layer in AI stack. Understand who comes where. That will help you see where the company or where the person is talking is playing, and you will see the challenges at that layer. Because AI challenges are very, very different for a chipset company than for a company which is trying to build an agent. And tooling layer also has its own challenges. So first, know which layer you're operating. So that's second, I would say. Understand your ecosystem, understand your concepts. Having done that, don't stop there. Please, please, please ship projects. Build your projects and give to everybody. If you go to them and say, I have an AI agent for you, which does X, Y, Z, enough people are ready to try that. And you can build all this for free. Like cloud providers are just throwing money at you. This is the best time to build things. There is 500K grants that Azure GCP is giving for free. So you just need to register a company and you can get 500K worth of credits in cloud money. And that's basically the largest, greatest model with all the tooling to build agents. And if you combine these two, and if you know the concepts, you know the ecosystem, and you go to Shobit or you come to Mahesh and say, you know what, I'm going to take your podcast and automatically edit it and ship it. We'll say, yeah, sure, go ahead. Here is the video. And then you can build it. And then you will know the things that I was looking for, which is, have you seen how these things come together? Do you know the shortcomings and how you build on those shortcomings? If you look for, like, when I say there's a moat in AI, and like there's no moat in AI, actually the moat is the people who have iterated. That's the next moat, which is I'm looking for people who have iterated on this technology. And if I have like 5-10 of them, that's a huge advantage. That's what OpenAI has. That what DeepSeek shows the world. That's what Mistral has. That's what Google has. And that's what Facebook has. So those are the only people who are ready to compete in this world, because the leverage is not building the largest, greatest models. That's table stakes. But how to use them, and people who can actually see the limitations and find ways to ship it in iterations, is a huge leverage. And that's what a hiring manager needs. And that's what you need to build by doing a lot of projects which actually people use.
I'm hitting a few really important things here. So first of all, you're telling PMs, hey, stop talking about AI, get into it and build an app on top of existing models. By doing that, you learn where the limitations are. You'll be able to iterate on it. And then you can explain that to the hiring manager. And that's how you actually become one of those people who gets value. Is that roughly correct?
Yeah. Means if you get into an interview, the kind of questions they will ask you is not like, hey, tell me what is the difference between DeepSeek and, Gemini or ChatGPT. They're going to say, hey, we have this app. How will you evaluate it? And then you're like, oh, I will use this. I will ask humans. And then you're like, okay, that you look at the specific question. That means you have done some evaluation of an app. That means you have built an app. That means you have gone through at least one iteration. So I'm looking for what problems you are seeing. That's the question I'm trying to ask. And then you're like, second question people love to ask in this world is that, hey, I have this. Tell me what are the risks that I'm taking shipping this app to customers. Which is also nobody talks about, nobody documents that. That's also the responsible AI aspect of it. And then third type of question is pricing AI, which is very different than pricing how we did earlier pricing on any apps or SaaS-based product.
I'm curious, when you work with PMs through your Maven course, do they actually end up shipping stuff or what do they actually do in that?
Yeah, means that's what the challenge is. That's why first I started a community. I was like, this needs to be taught. And I was doing it at Meta. I had a course on recommendation systems. That did very well. And then I taught at PM exercises. That went very well. And then I was like, actually, we need not to do the same thing. It has to evolve with time. This is changing every 3 months. The whole evaluation changes, the platform changes. So that's where the community came in. And then we started doing this in community, which is like, how can you take the latest thing, build it and ship it? And then I felt like we needed to have a more structured approach, like I learned from you, people like you. And then the Maven course, we focused on basically project-based learning. We do 5 workshops and we start with nothing. We actually build a project where we show you how you how you identified the opportunity, how you actually build it with no code and agent, how you evaluated it, how you made it responsible, and then how you price it. And these are all the workshops. And at the same time, we talk about ML concepts each week. We tell you how transformers work. We tell you what are the limitations of fine-tuning with techniques which are out there. And then we also talk about agentic RAG and give you labs with code to try them while you're building them. So you build the project with the labs and then you do your PM layer on top of your own project.
Clearly, you are really deep in this space and then you're helping a lot of PMs. So I think maybe you already answered my question. What do product managers need to understand to be effective at building agents?
I would just say that do these 4 things and find more and more iterations, which is, can you actually identify an AI opportunity inside your company, with your friends, in your house, for yourself? Build that muscle, because that's what people are going to check and that's what you need to succeed. Irrespective whether you get a job in AI or not, finding AI opportunity is the niche thing. Second, make sure you can actually evaluate what you build. What evaluation will you use to build it, which will make you learn a lot of things. So use that. Third is make it responsible. And fourth is try to price it. See what it goes. And then if you do these 4 in at least 3 or project iterations, I think you should be where what I get, which is people are seeking out you rather than you looking for jobs.
One more of those questions, which I know people will have. What is evaluation?
Evaluation is what happens is, like earlier code was very simple for us, which is you said that, okay, I click this button, this should happen. And if this doesn't happen, I can test it. You can write your unit tests, you can write your integration test. And if all those passes, that means your product does what it says it does. With AI, it changes. Okay, I have let's take an example. I have a contract. I want people to ask questions on that contract. Okay, I ask this question. The answer changes every time. Same question, same contract. Okay, how will you evaluate a situation like this? Or how will you set what is a good answer? Because my good answer is different than Shobit's good answer. And a lawyer will say, oh, both of you have no clue. This is the wrong answer. So evaluation is finding are you helping your users? Is your answer honest enough that it's grounded in reality? Because you can help as much as you want, but if it is not true, then it's not honest. And then you're also saying, is it harmful to them or harmful to your company? Because people can ask a question like, hey, why is Azure better than AWS? And your bot should not say, Azure is better than AWS in these three things, which is your core proposition, which may be helpful to the user, honest because it is grounding on something, but it's harmful for you and harmful for your chatbot. So building these three pillars and figuring out what is helpful for your product, what is honest criteria looks like, what is harmful criteria looks like, and then putting a score which says, hey, I want my helpfulness to be 80%, my honesty to be 60%, my harmfulness to be 5%. That's evaluation. And then running your solution through this and saying where it is today, so your engineering can go back and work till it reaches your benchmarks, is process of evaluation, which is what changed a lot. And I would love everybody to just focus a lot there.
It seems one of the things you're referring to is like the fact that AI models can often hallucinate. They just give you answers which like make no sense. Just as an example, check out some of the comments I get on my LinkedIn posts. They're clearly generated by AI and they don't make any sense and people put it anyway. But it seems like they were not evaluated.
YouTube should be doing that, right? So imagine like YouTube. So YouTube has not thought that because YouTube comments was made by humans for humans. But now somewhere AI came in, and now we have not done comments evaluation. We have not said this can be irrelevant, not helpful. If on your comments, if you tell YouTube that this is not helpful or honest or harmful, they will remove it. But you can't do it at scale. So some AI needs to do it. And that's where your project should be, right?
My most common YouTube comment is, hey, great video. I have a question. I have a Bitcoin wallet that I'm trying to do this. And here is the phrase. I'm like, okay, great.
I get that the same, which is like, hey, Mahesh, great community session. By the way, we are doing a course on environment. And here is my link. I'm like, okay, that's very helpful. That was very helpful to me, my community, very relevant too. So, that's finding that is like, I think the crux of it. And without that, the challenge is you can't ship these apps. You can't just say it works for me and it works for my developer and here I'm going to ship, because the consequences of going, as you mentioned, these models are creatives. These are not predictive models. They don't give you one answer with a confidence. With transformers, we have gone into the world where they are going to generate no matter what. They have to answer the question. There is no way they can say, I don't know. So if that's the case, then you need to know what they are saying and plan your evaluation from there and set your team from this subjective word to then objective evaluation, that at least behind the scenes, if they meet that, you can say, this product is good, I'm shipping it. And that doesn't happen without you. So people look for product manager, come again and again and say, what's your benchmark? I will beat that.
So let's talk more about AI and, because we're talking about responsible agents as well in the criteria of evaluation, tell us more about the AI Act and what do you need to worry about as a product manager to build responsible agents?
Yeah, I think as we were talking earlier, 4 things, but 2 things are most important. 4 things. First is identify the opportunity. Second is evaluate it and responsible. And third is pricing. I think pricing and finding opportunity, you already have that muscle. But these 2 are really new. And where PM comes in. The developer can actually find opportunities. There are just too many. So everybody's just saying, Mahesh, do this. And all those are good ideas. And pricing wise, our growth team can actually put pricing. But if you talk about how to make it responsible, that they want somebody to take that accountability. They don't want to. The developer doesn't want to. The VP doesn't want to. Neither does your growth team. They're relying on you to say, hey, define the criteria, what is responsible product looks like. And there, last year, it was mostly you coming up with some research you do and you build your own. Now, at least one thing has changed is EU has came up with the AI Act and they have laid down the foundation of what's not possible, what's possible with high risk, what possible with low risk and what is like you can just go do. So at least that there is a framework that you have to do. Earlier, you may say, okay, we've done nothing and we are shipping it and we'll take the risk. Nobody stopped you. But now EU is coming after you. This year, they are going to make it mandatory. 26 is the year where AI Act comes into force. That means if you don't follow the guidelines, you're going to pay 35 million euros in fines or 7% of your revenue, which can be huge for companies like Twitter or Facebook or even Google. So what is it? They're saying we have divided it into 4 categories, and one is forbidden AI. So they are saying don't use AI for tracking people or targeting, changing human behaviors. Because what they have seen is people take the data, then they target it, run election campaigns, and then change human behavior using AI techniques. So they have forbidden all those things. There's a huge list there. Then they are saying high risk things, which is they are saying don't use AI in judicial systems. Do not use AI for health surgeries and all, because just the risk is so high. You can build it, but we're going to audit it. And they have given a huge list to make your life so hard that you don't want to go there. And then they have said low risk, which is, hey, you can build bots, but make sure you tell people that you're talking to a bot. Make sure it is generated by AI. You made it clear that the things are generated by AI. And then they have said low risk, which is continue to build recommendation system. If you're building gaming, then use as much as AI you want to use. Nobody's going to audit it. Just stay cool. So that's EU. And in US also, we have got 2023, I believe, Joe Biden signed AI China Act or executive order. It doesn't like mandate anything. It relies on you to voluntarily do these similar things, but it said a couple of things, which is don't use it for government, and make sure you have watermarking if it is AI, and make sure you declare your AI things. So those are the floor. And we can talk some other day more about RAFT, which we talk about, which is reliable AI, accountable AI, fair AI, and transparent AI. That's the framework we talk in the course, or generally every large company uses, which their own high standard. And that's what the executive order talks about. So first, as a PM, you should have these on your fingertips. You can't just be showing up and saying, yeah, responsibility is a big challenge. Yeah, I want them to be fair. Yeah, I have seen this when I try ChatGPT. No, dude, I'm looking for a checklist from you, which I can mark and say, your responsibility after this. They want a neck on the line, and that's your neck, by the way. So make sure you have that checklist.
I had another guest on the podcast, and he was talking about the fact that you can never have computers make decisions because they won't take accountability. And that's what they're looking for the PM to do. And this is a critical part of that, which if you miss, you shouldn't be building AI, and especially not agents.
Yeah, means there's one example. When I was at Microsoft, right, we built this chatbot called Tia, and it was Microsoft research project, awesome in China. It had just answered questions like ChatGPT does. We did it in 2016, 2017 timeframe. And it was super popular in China. We launched in US, and people taught it like how to talk bad about Hitler, and how to talk about the Holocaust never happened. And it started answering those questions. And in 24 hours, Microsoft need to shut it down. Our CEO need to release a letter, and that bot never came back again. And it was an awesome job. Like, it was ChatGPT precursor to that. And if we would have gone there, the world would look very different for Microsoft. But imagine, right, what kind of opportunities you can just miss because you forgot to understand your market. US is not China. In Twitter, people are just going to do anything they want, and they won't use it for the purpose that you build it. And that's where we have this action of accountability, where first you have to find intended use of your product, and then see how people can actually abuse this, and then put guardrails on top of it on all the abusements. So that's a lot of thinking for a product manager to do. And that's what you will be doing. So most of your time will go into evaluation and responsible AI. I know you want to build these cool agents, but mostly engineering is building that. You are working on how to make it responsible and how to evaluate it.
I'm going to next dig into, maybe now taking a broader view, digging into product management and AI. When you think broadly of impact of AI on the roles of product managers, like what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen?
One is just the landscape has changed, because every time there's a new technology comes, just the possibilities of applying it is just too much. So this idea that you need to do a lot of customer research to find out what the customer want is not needed that much, because anybody, if you go and talk to and say, hey, we're going to replace this human for you, or we're going to make this 10x more productive, the customer is saying, yeah, sure, help me with my this. They have a list for you. So that is changing. That means there are more possibilities than what we had in 2021, in 2025. Okay, then if that's the case, then what you are doing as a product manager, then you need to be, I have seen it consistently that AI PMs are much more technical. And people who have engineering muscle or who are ready to get in code or actually get in hands with their engineers are given advantage, because in the beginning, if you're building new things which has no precedence, then if you can do more to help get your engineering to the right path is more important than just writing your PRD things. So the hands-on part is another thing that's changing. People are asking much more questions on, hey, give me the prompts. You are the prompt engineer for the team. And in the interview or even in your team, they're asking the product manager to provide the right prompt, which was not the case before. Like before you said, what is my requirement? The user should see this and user should see that. That's not. Second is building trust with the customer, because this is just seems like some black magic. I asked a question, I tell it to do a job and it did the job. But how transparently can you expose your system? Which is like this idea that, DeepSeek did, which is, okay, I'm going to tell my chain of thought. Great. People build trust with that reasoning. Okay, then now ChatGPT does that. Okay, what's the red future UX looks like, where we bring people along and show them how these machines are working if we want them to actually use these products. And have you done that before? Which we have not, right? The earlier product is, let's just make the US so good looking and so simple with a single click button. And now we are talking about exposing as much as behind the scenes to the customer, because you need to build that trust. So these are the 3 or 4 things I would say, Shobit, that has changed. So more engineering, bringing more transparency with the customer, and just this ability for you to come and say, let's do this specifically, and then put in details how you will go and evaluate it for your customers.
Let me also ask you one more thing on this. So in terms of the skills of the PMs, you talked about evaluation being a major skill, being able to apply AI. Do PMs need to be more technical? And if so, in what sense?
This is a very good question. Because when people say technical, you just open a huge Pandora box. Okay, should I run now know data structures? And now should I be able to write memory leaks and find all these problems? No, the answer is no. But you should be able to write a system diagram of your app. So how will it work? Because sometimes what people hate in engineering is in PMs running and asking them to do something which is not possible. Because the world just tells them everything is possible and 70% are not. So then how will you do that? You actually write a system diagram on these. Okay, this will happen, and this is where my LLM will answer. This is how I will evaluate. This is what the reasoning will do. So they can question you, which is, okay, which model you recommend for reasoning? Because we have done evaluation of reasoning. The criteria is on human evals or last mile for humans. Only 13% is what these reasoning models are doing. We don't have any memory. We don't have any planning capabilities. What are you talking about? Should we just automate scientists? Because that's the most expensive, most people are willing to pay for. So let's just automate scientists. Or yeah, PM can come up with that idea, makes a lot of ROI sense. But can you break it down? So ability to write system diagrams and ability to do prompts. These are the 2 skills when I say, what does technical PM means? And stop there. Because to be honest, your engineering is not doing more than that either. The new PMs or the new engineering managers are really good prompt engineers, and they have a really good idea of how different components from AI stack can come together and build a system. After that, there is a lot of commodity code that needs to be written, and you need not to know any of that.
I think you're pointing to a very important part here, which is back without AI, most of the things that you might suggest, it will be possible. I mean, I'm sure there's like people come up with stuff that just won't be possible, but it will be possible. Now it's a trade-off of how much engineering effort, how much hardware costs, running costs, whatnot. In this new world, there's actually stuff that you can think of which is not going to work with today's models. And for you to continuously be proposing such ideas as a PM, you appear dumb to engineers. And so you need to like actually break it down a little bit more and have some understanding yourself. Is that roughly right?
Yeah, exactly. And the second part is even worse, because they hire you as an expert. You show up as an expert, and then they follow you. And it takes 6 months to actually know that this doesn't work and you can't ship it. And then you do like 3 iterations like this. By this time, your competition has shipped something which was very basic, but they got their evaluation twice by something basic, while you are trying to build this scientist AI. Which will not work for next 3 years anyways.
You just said a very important thing, which is you might actually spend months, and at the end you can be like, yeah, this just thing doesn't work. I've been in AI projects where it was like, yeah, just it doesn't predict anything. This was before Gen AI and it's useless.
And yeah, and believe me, you will have resistance from humans. People are not going to adapt it. Your customers are going to just throw it on your face, because those people are like the experts. And you take to a scientist and say, oh, we are doing drug discovery now, and here it works. And they're like, you know what? I tried it, and all the drugs it suggested is useless. And that just reset your roadmap to a year. Could you just do compliance for drugs? Let's do that as a first project, right? Maybe you will have chance to adapt. And while you are doing compliance and making some money for your engineers, then maybe think about drug discovery as well, right? So build those iterations, and that's the smart PM people are looking for.
This is now Gen AI. When I worked on AI projects, we had recommendations for salespeople on what to sell. The hard part wasn't coming up with what to sell. The hard part was convincing them that these recommendations made any sense whatsoever.
Exactly, right? And they will say they make no sense, even if they make sense, right? So that's where I think the biggest problem with AI, even today, is that finding adoption is so hard. If you have a forcing function inside your company, which is large corp, then you can get it. But try building a product and try to let your consumer adopt it. And that's where we said, okay, then we're going to build agents. So we are not asking a human to do it. We're going to book the sales calls for them. So we are going to actually not recommend, but actually call, send these emails, get the lead, and then show the ROI. And the moment you try to incorporate that last layer, you really see a plethora of problems for you. Agentic AI is so hard to get into production. And that's what the real frontier is. Because the second one, the Copilot one, is not working, as you have seen. Means it has only limited use cases.
As you mentioned, you've like worked at Meta and Amazon and Google and Microsoft. Tell us a bit more about them and how are things changing over time? Because these companies are evolving, the environment's evolving.
I remember I will tell you some stories on Meta, right? And that will just tell you what the story is changing. So when I was at Meta, we were doing AI infra, a lot of spending on that because we were building the largest recommendation system. Recommendation system is bread and butter for Facebook or Meta. And the core focus of the company at that time was metaverse, building metaverse, because Chuck was super excited about that. And he thought that's where the new way of applications will be. And AI was like, there's a lot of spend on AI because we wanted to build the best recommendation system, but everything else was just side things, which Facebook research was doing, which PyTorch was kind of part of. And then we were just doing things, and it was a cool demo. And that's how much attention we got. And then things changed. Meta changed. And then now, if you talk about Meta now, it's Meta AI. And everything is front and center, which is not recommendation system, but how can we build AGI? So that's how these companies have actually pivoted. And one thing I love about Meta is how fast they change. Meta is not the most innovative company, to be honest. And at their scale, nobody can be. But how they pivot and how much investments they have done to pivot anywhere. So tomorrow, if AR becomes cool, they have the largest, biggest investment. They just spent $5 billion into building AR, and last year they built $4 billion. So they're building the metaverse, but similarly, they were building AI for last 10, 20 years. And when AGI appears, they are kind of not left behind. So what is becoming for all these companies is that in 2023, AI was forced on their agenda. In 2024, AI was a mandate for everybody to planning their strategy. And in 2025, 2026, AI is the agenda. AI is the company. So that's what's changing for all of them. And they have figured out that if you want to be a common platform company, then you have to have AI running. That platform is the AI platform. So that's what's changing. And what that means for you and me is that if you don't understand AI, you will have less and less need in that platform space, and also at the app space, because apps are built on platforms. And if you don't understand an AI platform, then you can't build apps, because AI is part of that app too.
Last question. Where do people find out more about you, and how do they follow you? How do they get to know you?
On Maven, just search for my name. You will find a course. That's one way to find me. We also have a community. Just reach out on LinkedIn and you will find our community. We do every Saturday, we do a session where we just talk about, like we are talking today, and we talk about latest, greatest stuff. Only this Saturday, we talk about DeepSeek R1. We didn't talk about it is from China and it's a threat or not. We said, okay, what's the actually novel part? How they actually came up with R10 and why R10 didn't work. But then they actually found out where they need to use R10 to make the whole thing work. And what does it actually mean for PMs? So those are the kind of things I think we all need. So please find me out the community, join the course. And Shobit is a friend, so just reach out to Shobit also.
Mahesh, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This was phenomenal. You laid out concepts amazingly well. And like some of the things that I've been trying to say, you said it so clearly that I was like, okay, this is really cool stuff. And I'm excited for you and your course and everything you're doing for PMs as well.
Thanks a lot. It was such a great opportunity. And I think the content Shobit and team has built is awesome. I'm going through that. And I would love everybody to just follow Shobit as well. So thank you for the opportunity. This was an honor.
Hey, be sure to check out our website at intentionalproductmanager.com to see how you can level up in your career.